Hi everyone, welcome to another tutorial. In this video, I'm going to show you how to generate country maps such as the one here using some R packages. So let's get started. Now you may want to generate countries, you may want to indicate the states or regions, you may want to color, you may want to add a couple of things. So in this tutorial, I'll show you how to use these R packages here and these commands here to generate maps such as this. So let's get started. So first of all, you need to make sure you have R installed, and you should also have these three R packages installed. So we are using ggplot2, SF, and then Rnaturalearth. So these three packages are what you need. Now for those who want the R codes, I'll leave a link in the description that you can use to get the codes. All right, so just take note of that. Nevertheless, you can also try to type as we move along just to make sure you get experience. So let's get started. So first of all, let's load our packages, and I assume you have also installed them, and then we will proceed. So let's load these three packages. These are the packages we are going to use. So I'll load mine now. Now once we have loaded them, we will need to start. In this tutorial, we are using Germany as an example. So we want to generate this country map of Germany, which also has the states and the respective names indicated. So the first thing we need to do is to get the information for Germany. Now, Rnaturalearth, this package here has information for all the countries in the world. All right. So what we are going to do is to extract the information for Germany and use that to generate the plots. That's what we are doing here. So the first thing is to retrieve the data for Germany. Because we want the map of Germany and we also want to include the states, we will use this function here, NE states. So Germany states, we have it here, NE states, we call that function, and we indicate the country of interest. In this tutorial, we are focusing on Germany. I'll show you how to change to other countries as well. So we want to get Germany, so we specify the country, and the return class is SF special data frame. All right. So let's run this to get the information. Now, if you run it, you can do a quick check. So I'll just say Germany underscore state, and I'll say $name. So this will give me the states, the names of the states. So there are 16 of them. Okay, you can also see them here. All right, so once we have this, we are good to go. We can now do a basic plot. We are starting with the basic plot. All right, now with the basic plot, we are using ggplot, and then we also indicate some functions here. All right, we want a basic plot. So this is the command I'm going to use. So notice these ones, type along and make sure you have the same thing written in your R interface. So I'll run this to get a basic plot. So that's what we have here. Now we are using ggplot, and the data that we want to plot is Germany states. And then we indicate a function which is the geom_sf. So the geom_sf here, we are using the default settings. Okay, it can automatically detect the geometry, okay, of the input data and then use that to do the plots. So that's why we are using the default settings. It's blank here. We call the function and then we leave it as it is. Theme void allows us to generate a minimalistic visualization. Here we are focusing on just the plot itself. We want the country map itself. So labels, we've excluded them. Title, we've excluded the title as well, and a couple of other things. So we are focusing on just the plot as we see here. So hence this and this and this. So this is going to give us a basic plot. Now, in case you want to use this for other countries, it's very simple. All that I have to do is to extract the information for that country. So let's say I want to extract information for Ghana and use that to plot. All right, my country is Ghana, so I'll just do something here. Let's say Ghana. It's the same command, but this time I'll just say Ghana. Let's say Ghana regions. In my country, it's regions instead of states, so I'll use that variable. Let's say Ghana. So when I run this, if I come to the basic plot, all that I have to do is to change this to whichever country I want. So here it's going to be Ghana regions. So if I run this, I will get Ghana with the regions. All right. Of course, now there has been some changes, so I think Rnaturalearth has to do some changes with the regions. So this is basically it. Let's try for India. So if it's India, it's the same command here. And then of course we change, let's say India. Let's say if it's India state or India, whichever one. Yeah, so let's say India. I just use India for simplicity's sake. And then when I come here, I will change to India. I'll run it, that's the any states, India, and then I run this basic plot. So this will give me the map of India with the borders nicely drawn. So that's how it's going to be. Now I'm going to revert back to Germany and then we proceed from there. So I'll just switch back to Germany. States. And then we proceed. I will clear this for now. All right. Now notice what we have here. So with this plot here, you'll see that the states, the colors that were used, all right, the color is gray. So the full color is gray. That's what we have here. It's possible to change, all right, the full color for the states. So let's just say you want to change the full color to, let's say, white. It's possible to do that. So in this case, what we need to do is to use the same command and then add something else. So I'll just paste. Now we are in the change fill color, all right? So when I come here, I'll use fill equals white. This is what I'm going to use, all right? Now for the borders, notice they are black, all right? I'll still maintain the black as the color, all right? So for that one, what we do is to say color equals black, all right? Now instead of single quote, I'll prefer using double quotes just to be safe, but single quote will also work. When I come here, I'll use double quotes as well. Yes, because these are characters. And now we are going to run. So when we run, you are going to see that the full color will change to white, as we see here. Now the border color is black. We can change it. Let's use blue, for example. If I use blue, you will see that it has changed. Now I'm going to revert back to black. All right, so this is how you change the full color. So if you want to use a different color for the full color, that's the states, you are free to use that. So it's the same command, you just add the information that is required. All right, now notice the plot here. It will be good to add a title. And so what I'm going to do next is to add a title to this particular map. So the same command here from the change fill color section, I'll paste it and I'll add something else. So here I'm going to say plus, and then I'll add another option. I'll say labs, and I'll say title. Title equals map of Germany. This is what I am going to do. Now I'll run it, and then you will notice that now there's a title here. Of course, the title too can also be changed. All right, you can maybe change the font type, the font size, whether it's bold, italic, etc. These are things you can do. So I will encourage you to explore the ggplot functionalities. All right, so this gives us the color. Okay, this gives us the title, to be specific. All right, the title. Now we also have the color. For color is white, the borders they are black. Now sometimes you may want to change the colors for the different states. You may want to give each state a different color, and so what we are going to do next is to assign colors to the different states. Okay, so here I'll say add colors. Okay, assign a unique color to each state. I'll just add this to it. Now if you want to add colors, there are a couple of ways to go about it. All right, now I want to assign a unique color to each state, so I'm going to do that. Or we can also say assign a color. It doesn't really have to be unique, but if you want it unique too, there are ways to go about it. All right, here I'll just say assign a color. Let me just make it simple. Assign a color to each state. I'll just do it this way rather. All right, now if you want to assign colors to the different states, there are different ways. So you can manually choose your colors, or you can sample. You can do a random sampling of the colors available on your system, and then I will pick some. So here we are going to pick some random colors, okay, and then use them. All right, so since we want our work to be easier, we are going to use another package which needs to be installed. Okay, so here that's the fourth package. I will encourage you to install it. So this is called the random color. Right, so I'll just say library random color R. All right, we need to load this library. So that means that in addition to these three packages, you need to make sure you load this as well. So we are going to use it to generate our color. So make sure to check the spelling and install it. If you're a beginner, the quickest way to install packages is to use install.packages, and then you indicate the package that you want to install. All right, so just make sure to do that. Okay, I already have a tutorial that shows how to do that. So if you are struggling, just send a message. I will share that tutorial with you. All right, so load this library, install it, and then load it. So let's see, it says random color R. Yeah, okay, there was a typo here, so I'll just change it here. So that's how it's going to be. All right, so just make sure to load it. There's the random color. There's the actual spelling. So random color. So make sure to install it and then use it. Okay, so I repeat, we are going to use this R package called random color. We are going to use it to generate some colors that we are going to use and assign to our states. So if you want to install it, you use install.packages and then say random color like this, and then install, or check. I'll just give the links in the description box and then you can use that. So make sure to install this package called random color R, random color, and then use that. All right, so let's proceed. Okay, so now it's time to add the colors. So I load this package, and then what I'm going to do is to indicate the number of colors I want to sample, I want to generate, I want to use. I have 16 states, so I'll just say number of colors is 16. Now sometimes you may not know the states, and so you can easily use another command to get the number of states. So here I'll just say length, and I'll say Germany states dollar names. All right, so I'm going to get the states, and then the length will count the number of states for me. So basically that's what I have done here. So I'll run this command, and then if I just say number of colors now, I'll get 16. Let's try this. I'll just do it again here. All right, so yeah, so this one is supposed to be, yeah, name rather. So it's name, not names. So name, yeah, like this. We need to be careful here. All right, so I'll run this, and now if I type number of colors, I should get 16. All right, so that's what we should get. If you are using the information for Germany, then you are supposed to get 16. So that's what you need to get here. All right, now we now generate the random color. So I'll say palette like this. That's the palette colors, and then I'll just say distinct color palette, because I want a distinct color. I'll say number of colors. All right, distinct color palette. And now you should take note that if you are using a distinct color palette, you should also be careful with the numbers. If the number is too high, you may have issues. So if, let's say, the number is too high, you may want to use other strategies to generate the distinct color, or you can decide not to use a distinct color approach as well, basically. So let's just to show that you can generate colors randomly. All right, so let's just generate the colors. So I'll run this to generate my colors. Now I'll just say palettes. Yeah, I have some colors here that I'm going to use. All right, so this will give me the colors. So I have 16 colors. They are distinct. All right, it doesn't really have to be distinct, but it depends on what you want at the end of the day. All right, so now we can proceed. So now we are going to proceed with the addition of the colors for the different states. So when we come here, we are going to copy the same thing here, and then we will paste it here. All right, we will paste it here, and then once we paste it, we are going to do some modifications. All right, so when we come here, notice here we said what? Fill equals white, color equals black. Now when we come here, we are going to change this and use palette, what we generated from here. That's what we are going to use here. So that's what we have specified here. So we are going to run it. And once we run it, voila, we have our colors. All right, so you see that we have some distinct colors. All right, so it's very, very colorful. That's good. All right, so now we have our map of Germany with the states having been assigned their respective colors. All right, now let me say that this strategy can also be used if, let's say, you want to generate a population density. There's another tutorial that I have made. I'll share the link with you as well. So you can use the same strategy to generate population density for different countries. So just take note of that. Now we are only doing the colors. All right, so now we have the colors. Now we have the states, we have the borders. So basically we have the map of Germany. It will also be good to have the states. Now we know the states. If you say Germany, states, $name, we have the states. Let me just do it here. So Germany. Yeah, we have the states. So which is which? To someone who doesn't know Germany, this is going to be a problem. So we can add the states so that anyone looking at the figure or plot will know that this is for this state is here. So that's what we are going to do. We are going to add the state names. Now to add the state names, it's also very, very simple. All right, it's simple. All that we need to do is to add something extra. So we copy the same command we use, and then this time we add something else. All right, we are going to add something else here. So we are going to add this, that's the geom text. That's what we are going to add. And then we do this. That's what we are going to do. So the geom text will allow us to add text, all right, to the plot. So basically we want to add the names of the states. So that's why we are going for the geom text function. So first of all, we need to make sure we have a plus here because we are adding to the ggplot. So that's why the plus is important. So after the labs, i.e. the labels, we have to add a plus, goes to the next line, and then we type the geom text. So I'll just redo it again. So plus here, geom text. That's what I'm going to do here. Now the geom text, we will start with what? Data equals. So what data should we use? What data should we use? Now notice that we want to place the names of the states here in the plot. So each state, we need to have the name of the states in that particular location. Now, if you look at each of the states, you know, we have different positions here, different positions for each of the states. And so what we want to do is that we want to place the names of the states at the center. Okay, so if you take this state, for example, we know that the center is around here. So we want to ensure that the name of the state is placed at the center. And so what we are going to do is to issue this command. We are going to say centroid, st_centroid, st_centroid. And then we indicate Germany states. So what the st_centroid will do is that it will compute the center of the geometry for us. So basically we are computing the center for each of the states using the st_centroid, and then that particular position which is found as a center is where we are going to place the text. That's what this is going to do for us. So that's the data. Now the text itself, we can also modify the text size. So I'll just say size equals, let's say 3, let's say 2 for example, and then we also have to give something else. All right, so again I repeat, we are going to add something else which we call the aesthetic mapping. So right, so I'll just say comma, then I will move to the next line. Make sure that you still have your parentheses, okay, closed. So inside it, we are adding the AES mapping. So AES, it will also have its parentheses, open and closed. And then we are going to say X equals longitude, Y equals latitude. Now, don't forget what we are dealing with is a spatial data. So once we compute the centroid, we are going to get longitude, latitude, all right, as part of the information. So what the AES will do is that it's going to allow us to map the names, which we are going to add here. Label equals name. All right, so we are going to map the names to longitude and latitude coordinates. So once it's done the computation, it will allow us to use this information to pinpoint the exact location which has been identified as the center, and then we place the names of the states there. Okay, the text. That's what we are basically doing here. All right, so we are done with that, and so we can proceed. So let's run this to get the text placed. Good. So now you will notice that we have the text placed here. Okay, just by adding the geom text, it has allowed us to add the names of the states here, which is very good. Now you will notice that the text size is very small, and so you can increase the text size, which is here, I'll just indicate 3, and then I'm going to run it. All right, so we see there has been an increment. Of course, with the RStudio, you can also use the zoom function. When you click on the zoom function, it will open a window which has the plot for you, so you can look at it like this. All right, so we can see it here. Still, we see that the text is small, so we can increase the size. I can say 5, for example, and then run it. So you will notice that it's now bigger. All right, now when we zoom in, we are going to see that it's been placed nicely for us. All right, so we see them here. So we have the names of the states, and we see that they have been placed in their respective centers. All right, and we see that the font size have also been increased, so at least they are visible. There are things that we can also do, but anyway, let's proceed. Now you will notice that here we only focus on the plots. Sometimes you may want to add the coordinates, latitudes and longitudes, so we can also add them here. All right, so in some plots it's required that you indicate the longitude and latitude, so we can do that here. So if you want to add the longitude and latitudes, the same command, we paste, and this time we change the theme here to minimal. All right, we change to minimal, and then we run. So once we run, it's going to give us the longitude and latitude. Now I can zoom in, and then I'll see it nicely done here. All right, so there's something you can also add if it's required that you indicate the longitude and latitude. All right, now for the longitude and latitude, if let's say you want to manually specify the titles, then when you come here, you can just add it. Okay, you can add it here. So that one, it depends on what you want to do. So it's important you do that. So I can just say x equals longitude, y equals latitude. Of course, here ggplot automatically adds that, but you can also manually add it just as we have done here. All right, I'll use double quotes here. All right, so here, in case you have your own labels, then you could add that. I'll run it, and then you get it. All right, so that's how it's done. So without it, ggplot will automatically add it, but if you have your own special names you want to put there, then that's how we're also going to do it. All right, so that's how we generate the country map. Now with the country map, if you are using ggplot, let's just zoom in again. Here's what you have. Sometimes you may want to save it and do some additional edits, and so I'm going to show you one trick to use. So I'll close this, and then when I come here in the RStudio, I'll click on export, save as image. Now when I'm saving as image, I'll use the image format SVG. So that's going to be a vector graphics. There are other formats as well, but I'll use SVG, and then I'll change the width and height. I'll just say 1920. Here I'll just say something like 1012 or something, just something like this here. Okay, just to make sure I have a high resolution outputs. And then our plots here, I'll just say, let's say Germany map, country map, whichever one you want to use, and then I'll save it. Now when I save this, if I go to the country map, it's here. There's SVG, so you can edit this, you can add, you can remove, you can modify. If you have a tool that allows you to edit SVG files, so a popular tool to use is Inkscape. So I have it installed on my system, so I can call it, open it, and when I open this SVG file, what's going to happen is that I can manually change some stuff, and I can change colors, I can change the text, I can move things around like this. Okay, all these things you can do them here. So there are things you can do. You can even change the text style. You can remove text. I'll just do this. You can remove the text. You can add your own text here. Okay, there are several things you can do if you have it as an SVG format. All right, so this gives you some additional flexibility to modify the plots outside R. And then once you are done, you can just save it. In my case, there's no need to save it. All right, I'll do that later. So that's what we have. So this is how we generate country maps such as this using R. All right. So again, you need to have these packages installed. You need to have these 3 packages. And then for those who are going to use random colors, you need to also have this package installed. All right. So that will be all for this tutorial. And I'll see you in the next session. So in the next session, we are going to be doing more of such things later. All right. So see you in the next session.